No restrictions for unvaccinated children. Well, Ministry has no plans to punish driving schools for ex-students' offences. Well, the vaccination of children aged between 5 and 11 under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program for Kids, also known as PIC Kids, will be done on a voluntary basis and no restrictions will be imposed on unvaccinated children. Well, Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin said this was to boost the confidence of parents, as the ministry was aware that many of them were taking a wait-and-see approach before enrolling their children in PIC Kids. Describing PIC Kids as the last piece of the puzzle to the National COVID-19 Immunization Program, the minister said the Health Ministry, the MOH, targeted to give 1 dose of the vaccine to 70% of children at schools within the next 2 months and 50% of the total cohort of 3.6 million children aged 5 to 11 by end of this month. The vaccine will be given to children with comorbidities and immunocompromised children that are under the low immunity group in those categories at the treating hospital. Apart from that, the children would also receive their vaccine through appointment booking at 3 mega vaccination centers or PPVs, namely at the World Trade Center Kuala Lumpur, Axiata Arena Bukit Jalil and Ideal Convention Center IDCC Shah Alam. Khairy said the implementation of PIC Kids will be expanded to health clinics and schools soon.
Pendalaman kita akan guna sistem ataupun kita akan guna rangkaian klinik kesihatan kita dan sekolah-sekolah. Sebab vaksinasi dan imunisasi ini bukan perkara asing kepada Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia. Kita menjalankan program imunisasi vaksin-vaksin lain di peringkat sekolah dan kita gerakkan PKD kita gerakkan klinik kesihatan kita. Jadi tidak ada masalah dari segi penyampaian vaksin. Untuk program remaja pun kita buat di sekolah, sudah pun sampai ataupun mencapai tahap 90% remaja kita telah menerima vaksin. Jadi saya rasa sistem ataupun pendekatan yang sama akan diguna pakai untuk kids ini.
The minister said this after launching the PIC Kids at Tunku Aziza Hospital in Kuala Lumpur today. Khairy said PIC Kids was important to prevent the children from multi-system inflammation syndrome in children, complications, long COVID and death, as 9,413 cases of COVID-19 involving unvaccinated children were recorded since the 1st of January this year. Well, meanwhile, the minister said the MOH will only make recommendations to the government on the reopening of the country's borders and relaxing the requirements on quarantine period when the booster vaccination among the adult population and the COVID-19 vaccination for kids showed improved rates. According to Khairy, although the booster vaccination rate among adults had surpassed 50% as of today, he still wants to see a higher number before making any recommendation.
Dari segi Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia, kita bukan mengambil pendekatan buka semua secara mendadak school of thought. Kita lebih kepada targeted, calibrated and proportionate. Sebab walaupun kita yakin dengan satu program vaksinasi yang terbaik di dunia, tetapi kita masih lagi mengambil sikap yang berhati-hati dan membuka secara berperingkat. Tetapi saya yakin dengan adanya PIC Kids dan juga program dos penggalak yang semakin meyakinkan, kita akan dapat memberi lebih banyak lagi kelonggaran dan kebebasan.
Well, on another matter, Khairy said the MOH is in the midst of finalizing the SOP for the Johor State election before it is submitted to the Election Commission. or the EC. Well, it said the MOH was still conducting risk assessment as the election would be held in a different environment than the previous Sarawak and Malacca polls due to the spread of the Omicron variant in the country.
SOP PRN Johor pun hampir dah selesai dan nak dibentangkan kepada pengurusan tinggi KKM nanti sebelum kita maklumkan kepada pihak SPR yang ini SOP yang utama. But apa yang kita tahu adalah SOP Melaka berjaya, tidak ada spike. SOP Sarawak berjaya, tidak ada spike. SOP di Johor ni lain sikit sebab dia datang sekali dengan Omicron.
Khairi also did not rule out the possibility of an increase in the number of COVID-19 cases following the Johor election. Asked on the SOP for Umrah travel, Khairi said it is being finalized and would be presented to him soon. On 29 January, the cabinet decided to allow Muslims in the country to continue performing the Umrah from 8 February after being temporarily suspended following the increase in COVID-19 Omicron variant cases. Well, as many as 15% of the 40,000 respondents among parents in Sarawak disagreed with having their children vaccinated under the COVID-19 immunization program for children, which is the PIC Kids. Well, Deputy Chief Minister Dr. Amar Douglas Ugah Umbas said the results of the Sarawak Health Department survey from 26 to the 31st of January also found that 59.7% agreed to it, while 25.3% were unsure. Well, Dr. Douglas Ugah, who is also State Disaster Management Committee or JPBN chairman, said one of the main reasons for respondents to disagree or were unsure was because of the concern about the complications that would occur after taking the vaccine. While speaking to reporters after the launch of the state-level PIC Kids at the Sarawak General Hospital in Kuching today, he said some are worried about the safety of the vaccine and want to be given the advantage of choosing the type of vaccine. Meanwhile, Dr. Douglas Ugah said a total of 272,500 children aged 5 to 11 in Sarawak were eligible for PIC Kids. He said the state government is targeting 70% of eligible children and in the education system to be given the first dose of Pfizer vaccine within 2 months from now. Coming up next, government industry TVET coordination body set up to steer agenda. Well, there are no plans to revoke or cancel the permits of driving schools and their instructors whose former students are involved in traffic accidents. But Transport Minister Dato Sri Dr. Wee Ka Siong said the proposition was just a personal view of the Road Transport Department or JPJ Director General and not a policy of the ministry at the moment. Well, Dato Sri Dr. Wee noted that any policy direction or proposal towards improvement must undergo holistic and scientific studies by the ministry. He added that such studies take into account various aspects such as feasibility and the ability to achieve these objectives of a proposal. Well, he said the ministry does not want to point fingers arbitrarily at any parties and find fault based on, or rather solely on, unfounded presumptions and hypotheses. In addition, the minister said detailed studies on the matter would also require engagement with stakeholders to get their feedback and proposals for improvement. It was reported earlier this week that JPJ Director General Dato Zailani Hashim said a system would be introduced alongside the e-testing pilot project to be implemented in April to help identify driving schools whose former students were involved in traffic violations. Well, the Ministry of Federal Territories is studying the proposal by the Malaysian Institute of Road Safety Research of MIROS on the implementation of a speed limit of 30 kilometers per hour in selected zones around the federal capital and 50 kilometers per hour in other zones. Its Minister, Dato' Sri Dr. Shahidan Kasim, said the study on the proposal would take into account the interests of all parties before it was finalized and announced soon.
Kita tahu banyak benda yang kita buat, ada orang setuju, ada orang tak setuju. Tapi kita melihat lebih kepada kesesuaian penerimaan semua pihak. Yang penting matlamat kita apa? Kita kena capai matlamat kita untuk tujuan tersebut. Dan yang keduanya ialah pelaksanaannya sudah pasti akan berlaku pelbagai pandangan berhubung dengan penerimaan. Kita ambil kira semua.
He said this in a press conference after launching the Fly the Federal Territory Flag campaign in conjunction with the Federal Territories Day 2022 celebration in Kuala Lumpur today. Recently, MIROS has proposed a 30 kilometers per hour speed limit for residential areas, towns and villages as part of the National Road Safety Plan for 2021 to 2030. The proposal is also part of the Street for Life campaign carried out under the 6th UN Global Road Safety Week. The National Technical and Vocational Education and Training, or TVET Council meeting has endorsed the establishment of the Government Industry TVET Coordination Body, or GITC, in a bid to empower the TVET ecosystem, hence making it the top career choice among youths in the country. The Prime Minister, Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, said the body would be involved directly in the development of TVET human capital, especially in boosting the skills and manpower essential for the country. In a release statement, the Premier said the meeting had also agreed to the implementation of TVET collaboration hubs involving 11 ministries and to be coordinated by the Ministry of Higher Education. He added that this initiative will become a platform for strategic collaboration of expertise, equipment and technology between centers of excellence and TVET institutions, as well as the regional economic and industrial authorities. Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri said 12 collaboration hubs had been identified, including automotive, semiconductor, marine, air conditioning, aerospace, robotics, rail, telecommunications, tourism and hospitality, as well as food technology, which would be implemented in the Peninsula, Sabah and Sarawak. In addition, he said the initiative is expected to strengthen the symbiosis of the TVET ecosystem in connecting the parties involved to bridge the gap between labor demand and supply. Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri said the Education Ministry has also been asked to prepare early exposure on TVET education system to Form 1 students to ensure that they make the appropriate choice based on their interests. To date, there are 1,295 public and private TVET providers across 11 ministries, including 22 government TVET institutions nationwide, offering programs at the certificate and diploma levels. He said the government has also recognized the Malaysian Vocational Diploma as one of the preparatory paths to the Malaysian Technical University Network. Now, these elements, the Prime Minister said, will create youths who are more independent and able to adapt in the challenging career environment. Well, low tide phenomenon in the Kuala Perlis waters and ferry breakdown has left 423 passengers stranded for more than 7 hours at the Kuala Ferry Terminal in Langkawi yesterday. Well, according to the Marine Department, or JLM Northern Region Director Muhammad Hafiz Abdul Majid, all passengers who were stranded since 2:30 p.m. had safely transported to the Kuala Perlis Ferry Terminal at 11:25 p.m. last night. Well, Consortium Ferry Line Ventures Human Resources and Operations Manager Captain Baharin Baharom said all the passengers were scheduled to board the Star City 6 ferry from Langkawi to Kuala Perlis, but the journey could not continue as it suffered a breakdown. Well, he said the consortium management then provided another ferry to take all passengers to the Kuala Perlis terminal. However, there was a low tide phenomenon at that time. He was explaining the situation following viral videos and pictures showing overcrowding and chaotic moments between passengers and ferry crew members at the Kuala Ferry terminal yesterday due to the delayed trip. He said the commotion started as soon as his company announced that the ferry trip was delayed to 10 p.m., causing a handful of passengers to hurl abusive words to the staff at the terminal and the ferry crew members. Well, a 33-year-old cook has pleaded guilty to charges of firearms and ammunition possession, assault and attempted murder, as well as consumption of drugs. Luqman Abdullah pleaded guilty in the Batua Sessions Court today to possessing a Stephen 6400 double-barreled shotgun and firing it at shop assistant Ullah Inayat, 31, at a sundry shop in Permatang Berangan on 22nd January. Well, Sessions Judge Nurhayati Muhammad Yunus denied bail for Luqman on both charges and fixed case mentioned on 31st March. In a magistrate's court, Luqman pleaded guilty to using criminal force to attack Ullah with a 75-centimeter blade at the same time and place. The case was also fixed for mention on 31st March and bail of 10,000 ringgit was granted. In the same court, Luqman was jailed 3 months after he admitted to possessing 2 cartridges without a valid license or permit from the Royal Malaysia Police. Luqman also pleaded guilty to consuming morphine and methamphetamine on 23rd January and was allowed 3,000 ringgit bail pending the chemist's report. Well, fresh applications by Datin Sri Rosma Mansor to recuse High Court Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan and Senior Deputy Public Prosecutor, or DPP, Dato Sri Gopal Sri Ram from presiding over and prosecuting her second trial respectively will be heard on 17 February. Well, a third application to stay the proceedings will also be heard should Datin Sri Rosma fail in her first 2 applications. Well, Dato Sri Ram added that Datin Sri Rosma had filed a criminal motion but wanted an order that his appointment as ad hoc prosecutor was illegal and must be quashed. Judge Muhammad Zaini then postponed today's proceedings and fixed 17 and 18 February to hear the preliminary objection and disqualification application. The court will also hear Datin Sri Rosma's second application to recuse Judge Muhammad Zaini and stay the trial pending the outcome of her application in the Court of Appeal to disqualify the judge. This is the second time Datin Sri Rosma filed an application after Judge Muhammad Zaini, who also presided over her solar hybrid trial, rejected her application to recuse himself from hearing the trial on 14 December. Datin Sri Rosma, 70, is facing 12 money laundering charges to the tune of 7.097 million ringgit and 5 counts of failure to declare her income to the Inland Revenue Board. In other news, Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al Sultan Abdullah Ri'ayatuddin Al Mustafa Bilal Shah today presented the instrument of appointment as federal court judge to Dato Muhammad Zabidin Muhammadiyah. And at the ceremony held at the Istana Negara, His Majesty also presented to Dato Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali the instrument of appointment as the Court of Appeal judge. Well, Chief Justice Tun Tengku Maimun Tuan Mat, Court of Appeal, President Tan Sri Rohana Yusof, Chief Judge of Malaya, Tan Sri Azhar Muhammad, and Chief Judge of Sabah and Sarawak, Dato Abang Iskandar Abang Hashim, were present at the ceremony. Well, also present was Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Dato Sri Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jafar. Dato Muhammad Zabidin was appointed as High Court Judge on 28 July 2006 before being elevated to the Court of Appeal on 26 November 2018, while Dato Muhammad Nazlan has served as Judicial Commissioner from 10th April 2015 before being appointed High Court Judge on 30th January 2017. That's it from us this evening. And our top story, PIC Kids is voluntary No restrictions for unvaccinated children. Join us for updates at 12, or rather at noon at 12:30 tomorrow. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. Thanks for watching. Wishing you a pleasant evening ahead. Bye for now.